One of my favorite YouTube videos that I've watched, probably within the last couple years, is a video that was made by one of my favorite YouTubers, Berleezy. He made a video called, essentially detailed, "Don't be scared of being seen trying." And within that, he then quoted another YouTuber, Evelyn from the internet, and she said this thing, and it really stuck out to me.
Her video that really spoke to me was that it's the people that are willing to go out there and go after it.
Funny enough though, it's the people willing to look ridiculous that tend to get exactly what they want out of life. Or at least live with some sense of inner peace that the rest of us don't got.
Those who are willing to look ridiculous oftentimes get what they are looking for out of life. And within that, the first thing I thought of are like people within the Bible where God has asked them and called them to do something, and in the moment it was almost ridiculous. I think one of the greatest stories that we can apply to it is like Noah. God told him to build an ark and that he was going to flood the earth in a time where they'd never seen rain. They never seen rain. And this man built this ark, and in the moment, it was often he was willing to look ridiculous. When God has asked us to do something, has called us to do something, whatever it is, start a business, step into ministry, go to college, be an evangelist, whatever it is, in the moment we are so scared of being seen to look ridiculous to people, and we want to be like quote unquote overnight successes, which when you really look at it in the grand scheme of things, there's no such thing as an overnight success. Nobody had just without any work, without trying, without doing anything, just instantly became famous overnight. There's always some type of faith, some type of trusting in the process, some type of believing, some type of action that took place before they stepped into whatever they had to do. There's actually a movie that's coming out called Air, and it's a story of pretty much how the Air Jordan came about. It was in the early stages of Nike, and it was a failing business, and the guy said, I got a perfect idea. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come out with this shoe called the Air Jordan, and it's gonna be a shoe for an athlete that will be a rookie. And now in the time, this was never heard of. A rookie getting a shoe was never heard of. People who got shoes or people who got some type of apparel were those who have already established themselves. But he's like, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to make this awesome. It's going to be an awesome silhouette. It's going to be an awesome shoe. And literally through willing to look ridiculous, he literally created the greatest shoe of all time. And literally now Nike is a multi-billion-dollar company off of the fact that they took a chance on something that in the moment seemed ridiculous. Are you willing to look ridiculous to step into what God has called you to step into? And man, it takes a level of faith and trusting the process. And in Habakkuk 2, specifically verse 2 and 3, it says, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it, and it will surely come, and it will not delay. Whether you know or not, everyone has a vision in life. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that essentially what it says in that verse is they don't make it plain. They don't write it down. They don't make it physical or tangible. The point of writing something down is that we're taking it from just being up here and putting it in a place where now it is physically tangible. We can see it. Where now it's no longer just a thought. Now it's no longer just a thought. It's not just a dream. It's not just a goal or an idea that we might have. But now it's almost, it's in its first step of becoming reality. Oftentimes we are scared to write down these crazy visions or these crazy dreams or these crazy goals that God has given us, is because, like I said in the beginning, we're scared to look ridiculous. We're scared to see people see us try, even to be like super transparent. It's in the beginning stages. You have 0 subscribers, you have 0 viewers, you have 0 people that have any good reason to actually tune in and watch a video in a setup that a video that you made. They have no reason. And it's almost scary because it's like, well, what if I spend the money and I buy the software and I buy a camera and I take the time and I learn how to edit and I pay someone to do this or I pay someone to do that, and then no one watches my video. No one tunes in. No one does anything. Imagine if Walt Disney was too scared to start Disney. Imagine if Kanye, who is a music producer who just made beats in Chicago, decided, well, there never has it happened did a producer become the greatest rapper of all time. Imagine if he decided not to do that. Imagine if Van Gogh decided not to take a chance on the out of going and doing the abnormal when it came to traditional art. Like imagine if these people, these visionaries, did not take a chance on the vision or the dream or the goal. Imagine if Noah didn't build the ark. Imagine if Moses, after talking to a burning bush, didn't go and deliver the Israelites out of Egypt. It all started with these people willing to look ridiculous. I mean, even in the case of Moses, he's like, man, what would it look like me going to Pharaoh and asking him to deliver these people? Like, that's a ridiculous ask. But this is the thing about God, is God is never going to ask us to do something. He's never going to give us a dream. He's never going to give us a vision. He's never going to give us a goal that he believes we would not be able to accomplish. Sometimes we feel like God is setting us up for failure, and he's called us and he's asked us to do something that we're not capable of doing. And this is what motivates me, is I will see people on YouTube, I'll see musicians, I'll see whatever, all the business people who become multimillionaires. I will see all these people, and I see what they're able to do without God. Now imagine that you are tapped in to an all-powerful, all-present, all-knowing God who created the universe with mere words, who has spoken to you specifically, has given you the desires of your heart on what you should, on what your purpose here on earth is. Imagine what you could do if you stopped having the fear of looking ridiculous. If you stopped having the fear of, well, what if it might fail? If you stopped having the fear of, well, what if people don't care? God's not setting you up for failure. And this is the thing. This is the point of why he asks us to do things, and in the moment they look ridiculous, because ridiculous things only come about when you put your faith and trust in God. But this is the thing. If God has asked you to start a YouTube, you can't just sit around and say, well, I have faith that I'm gonna have a large YouTube channel one day. But then you don't make videos, you don't record, you don't do anything, right? You don't even make a YouTube, right? That's not gonna work. There has to be action in faith. It's not just I believe it can happen, but it's putting in the work. And you never know. It might take months. It might take years till it comes to pass on what God has asked you to do. You ask anyone that put their complete faith into what God had asked them and called them to do, I guarantee you 100 times out of 100, they all will say that it was worth it. If we could talk to Moses, if we could talk to Noah, if we could talk to David, if we could talk to, if you know, in Hebrews 11, the hall of faith, if we could talk to all these men and women and ask them, was it worth looking ridiculous in the moment and putting your complete faith in God? They will all say yes. We can ask all these great men and women who've done great things in God's name. We can ask them, was it all worth looking ridiculous and putting your complete faith in God? And they would say yes. They would not say no, because God he's faithful to his word. And if he says something will happen, it is. That's what faith is. Faith essentially is completely believing that God will do exactly what he said he'll do. If God said, I want you to start this business, and this business will change, break generational curses off in your family, and your kids will never have to know poverty, your kids will never have to know things that, you've had to experience, do it. Put your complete faith in God. If God has asked you, man, I want you to move all the way across the country and become a missionary or an evangelist, put your complete faith in God, because if he's asked you to do it and you put your faith in him, it will come to pass. People, if he asks you to go overseas and be someone who delivers Bibles or whatever, do it. If he asks you to put out a worship song or put out a Christian rap song or whatever it is, to start a podcast, to become a director and make a Christian film, or whatever it is, whatever God has asked you to do, he didn't ask you to do it because he wouldn't have asked you to do it if he believed you weren't capable. But what does the Bible say? It says, without God, only with man, things are impossible. But with God, it isn't anything that is not possible. All things are possible with God. We're building legacy. I know people that will never have to need a tombstone because of what they were able to do with their life here on earth. It will never be forgotten. I remember when I first got saved, I had said that. I remember me and my mentor, my pastor, Pastor Cody, we were walking in Wegmans, And I was like, I was like, would whatever God asked me to do, I want to be able to leave a legacy here on earth. I want to be able to leave an impact. And that's what I said to him. I said, and on my tombstone, I want it to be able to be said that he was remembered for the extraordinary things that he did through God and with God. That I want to be able to leave a legacy, not for the sake of me getting glory, me getting honor, me getting all the notoriety, but I want to be able to leave a legacy so people can pinpoint and look back on what it looks like, what God's faithfulness looks like, and what it looks like when you give your life completely to God, and when you believe and you have complete faith in whatever He's asked you to do, in whatever sphere of influence, whether it be music, media, full-time ministry, becoming a missionary, owning a business, going into politics, whatever it is. Just go crazy. Just do it. What will happen? We only will stand on the side of like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it does work? What if that YouTube you start blows up? What if that Twitch live stream you start blows up? What if that music you drop becomes a #1? What if the ministry you start is able to help so many people come to Jesus? Too many times you try to stand on the negative side of history. Too many times we try to stand on what won't happen. But what if we stand on what will happen? What would happen, whoever's watching this, whoever's listening to this, if you were no longer scared of looking ridiculous in the face of man, in the face of the world, and you got what you were looking for out of life and out of God's plan, purpose, vision, dreams, and goals for you?